YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video. You know, Brian Schmidt is one of the more sincere anglers that I've ever met, and for him to do what he did, it still, right now, blows my mind. I mean, talk about, paying it forward and being selfless, especially for somebody that just came off a win, being so selfless that you were able to help somebody else, regardless if I caught them or not. I actually saw a comment yesterday, and I read all your comments, every one of y'all's comments. So if you drop a comment, I'm going to read it. Now, whether I have the time to respond, I'll do my best. But I read a comment yesterday, and you said you can't ever catch another man's fish. And you make a very interesting point, but you can. A lot of times it depends who you're talking to. So if a buddy of yours gives you a bait and says, man, they're smashing on this bait today, well, he might not give you all the details, like how to retrieve it, the size line. Maybe it's an area of the lake, then one spot even. I've run into it all the time. But if a guy's as sincere as Brian was there, and I mean, he literally showed me everything to do. He only caught one more bass the rest of the day. And I think I only saw one more bass get caught. So it wasn't like they were just biting their tails off around us. It just wasn't happening. So just to clarify that one point, I really wanted to make that a point. Secondly, today's video, we're going to talk about day number 2 of the Chesapeake Bay. Now, we're not going to talk about day 1. I actually caught 3 bass on day 1. Had right at 6 pounds or something like that. I'm not going to talk about that day. I don't want to talk about that day. Because that day, I had a bunch of bites. I caught a couple bass, especially right there at the end of the day. One real nice one. Great, whatever. But the day I want to talk about is day number 2. So day number 2, a couple really cool things happened and a couple real crappy things happened. So I'm going to kind of give you a backstory of what's going on. So if you follow me on social media today, you saw me post a video of a pick line in my arm at the hospital. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background of what's going on. So I had COVID about 5 weeks ago. Or the week after ICAST is when I ended up having it. And since then, I've had a lot of breathing problems, coughing nonstop, extreme fatigue for weeks. I mean, it has not let up. And it's been really frustrating for me. I've had to shoot a bunch of TV in this time. I've had to fish some tournament. I had to fish the tournament. I'm traveling all over the place, and I'm just going to tell you flat out, I am not at 100%. I am struggling. And, I have some really great doctors taking care of me. My wife's taking care of me. She's a nurse practitioner. And today I had to get a CT scan, and thank goodness everything came out okay on that. Still got a lot more stuff we got to do. They're going to put me on another steroid and antibiotic and stuff like that. But to kind of fast forward, or I guess rewind in this case, to day 2. Day 1, I coughed quite a bit, but day 2, I really got to coughing bad to the point where I couldn't breathe very good, and I was struggling. And it didn't help that there was 0 wind and it was hot, but I was just mentally and physically exhausted, and I had to go in and get some inhalers just to give me a little bit of relief. And thank goodness it worked. I didn't cough near as much that afternoon, and I was able to fish a little bit more. I've had to take some breaks during the day now, and that's really frustrating for me, for somebody that doesn't take very many breaks. I mean, it's hard. And, when you're getting the late part of the season, I'm having a crap year right now. It's really easy to make a lot of excuses as to why you're not catching them. And quite honestly, when it came to the Chesapeake, I probably could have worked a little bit harder. I was a little lazy. There were some real adverse conditions a few days, and I just said I wasn't going to go out there. And I want you to learn from me, okay? So there's 2 ways that you can approach things, and I teach my son this all the time. We talk about it a lot. There's 2 ways to approach things. You either just go out there and show up, or you go out there and show out. And there's a difference. So if you're going to go up and show up, you're going to have the results like I did. Did I let my breathing stuff kind of get in my head? 100%. I let it get in my head. I wasn't focused like I needed to be. And it's real easy to look at that and be like, well, that's why I didn't catch them. No, I didn't catch them because I didn't hook them. And I didn't land them. And I didn't win. I mean, that's just where we're at with it. Did guys kick my butt? Absolutely. I mean, I felt like this entire year I've kind of got my butt kicked a little bit. So that's beside the point. The point is here is that I did do my best in the tournament. I could have done a little better. But it just goes to show you that despite a bad finish or despite what's going on, sometimes you just have a bad tournament. And that's what happened to me. So now, what about the good things? You know, I mentioned earlier there's some really great things that happen. You know, I actually had a co-angler named Logan. He's an 18-year-old from the Richmond area. And, you know, one of the nicest young, you know, kids that I've met in quite some time. And a huge fan of the, you know, of YouTube and all that stuff. And, you know, likes the game some. So, like, he and I kind of hit it off pretty good. That kid right there is a great fisherman. He's going to have a long career if he wants to keep doing it. He, you know, he likes to fish, and that's what he likes to do. And I think that's pretty awesome. But Logan, he earlier that day, he caught him a snakehead. If you don't know what a snakehead is, they're just a toothy, looks like a mudfish type creature. And this thing weighed about 5 pounds. And I'm like, man, that's pretty awesome. You know, like, I hadn't caught a snakehead before. I've been around a million of them, but I've never caught one. We're fishing down this bank later in the afternoon, and it's hot as all get out. Oh. And Logan has a fish blow up on his frog. And when I say he blew up on it, I mean he absolutely went nuts on it.
Look at the size of this
Logan
thing.
sets the hook.
Holy
He gets
cow.
about 3 cranks in on this fish, and it jumps. And I kid you not, that fish jumped 4 foot out of the water if it jumped 6 inches out of the water. I mean, it was an enormously high jump. And he fights this fish all the way to the boat. And like the whole time we're like, man, I hope you still have it, because we knew it was a big one. And because we saw the entire fish come out of the water, and I was super shocked when he reached out. He asked me, like, hey, where do I grab these things? I had no idea. I was like, I just know to grab him in the mouth. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. And he grabs his fish, and I mean, gosh, guys,
look at
that thing, I don't know how much it weighed. I didn't have a scale on my boat.
Here.
But I promise you it was 12, 13, 14 pounds. I mean, it had a huge gut on it, and fat and super long. One of the biggest freshwater fish that I think I've ever had landed in my boat. I mean, we've caught a bunch of big catfish, and I guess if you want to really be real technical, yeah, I've caught 30, 40-pound catfish in my boat. Sure. But for that species of fish, I think it was a pretty darn big one. And
huge snakeheads, guys.
Super excited for him. He was so jacked, and I would have been too. I wouldn't have been able to fish. It literally destroyed his frog. He caught 2 fish on that frog. Both of them were snakeheads, and his frog was demolished. Super, super cool. But, you know, we all have to look at the silver lining here. And when I look at day 2, it could have gone worse. And I know that sounds so crazy. I zeroed. It could have gone worse. Things could have been way worse. And that's what I look at is I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at. You know, I'm positive that the rest of the season is going to be good. And I'm positive that next year is going to be good. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to catch some bass. And hopefully we're going to finish this year out on a good note. We got 3 good tournaments coming up, the Red River, Hartwell, and Rayburn. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm heading out to Hartwell this weekend. I got to go to a buddy's wedding first, but then I will be at Hartwell. But if you learn anything from me, if you learn anything from my YouTube channel, learn this. You're going to have bad days, and you're going to have good days. You're either going to show up or you're going to show out. The way you show out is you outwork everybody. No matter what's going on, how hot it is, how much wind, how much rain there is. If you outwork people, you will have good results. I didn't outwork people in this last one, but I can promise you guys I'm working on outworking people at the next 3. So make sure y'all stay tuned for what's going on. I hope this little insight and this background info of what's going on will help you the next time you're on the water.